You think you know what betrayal looks like? Try finding out you're pregnant with your father-in-law's baby while your husband is deployed overseas, and then discovering that your entire marriage was built on lies. Yeah, you heard that right. And before you click away thinking this is some twisted fiction, I wish it was. But this is my life, and I'm about to tell you the most insane story that completely destroyed everything I thought I knew about my family. My name is Ashley. I'm 24, and up until 8 months ago, I thought I had the perfect life. I was married to Tyler, this amazing guy I met in college. He's military, stationed at Fort Campbell in Kentucky, and we'd been together for 3 years, married for 1. When he got deployed to Afghanistan last year, I moved in with his family in Nashville, Tennessee, to save money and have some company. That decision became the biggest nightmare of my life. Tyler's family seemed picture perfect at first. His mom, Carol, is this sweet Southern woman who makes the best peach cobbler you've ever tasted and volunteers at the local church. His younger sister, Madison, was away at Vanderbilt University studying pre-med. And then there's David, Tyler's dad. 52 years old, successful real estate developer, pillar of the community type. The kind of guy who sponsors little league teams and sits on the city council. Everyone in their upscale Brentwood neighborhood absolutely loved him. At first, everything was fine. David was helpful, respectful, treated me like the daughter he never had. He'd fix things around the house, give me rides when my car was in the shop, and we'd have these long conversations about life while Carol was at her charity committee meetings. I thought I was lucky to have such caring in-laws who genuinely seemed to care about my well-being. But then things started getting weird, in ways I never could have imagined. It began with little comments that made me uncomfortable. "Ashley, you look absolutely beautiful today. Tyler's the luckiest man alive to have you. I wish I could turn back time and be young again." At first, I brushed it off as harmless compliments. This man was my father-in-law, for crying out loud. I trusted him completely and thought he was just being kind. Then came the touches that felt wrong. A hand on my shoulder that lingered way too long. Hugs that felt different and inappropriate, standing uncomfortably close when we talked. I started feeling uneasy, but didn't know how to address it without seeming crazy or ungrateful. I mean, these people had opened their beautiful home to me and were treating me like family. One night in February, Carol went to visit her sister in Memphis for the weekend. It was just David and me alone in their massive house. I was in my room, video, calling Tyler on my laptop when David knocked on my door around 10 at night. He said he needed to talk to me about something extremely important regarding Tyler. I thought maybe something terrible had happened with his deployment, or there was a family emergency I needed to know about. I opened the door, and David pushed his way into my room. He was drunk. I could smell the whiskey heavy on his breath. He started saying things about how lonely he'd been, how Carol didn't understand him anymore, how he'd been watching me for months and couldn't stop thinking about me. He said I was driving him crazy and that he knew I felt the same way. I tried to get past him to leave the room, but he grabbed my arm tightly and wouldn't let me go. What happened next? I don't want to go into graphic details, but I think you can figure it out. I was scared, confused, and felt completely powerless. This was my husband's father, in his house, where I was supposed to be safe and protected. I kept thinking about Tyler overseas, risking his life for our country, while this horrific betrayal was happening at home. Afterward, David acted like absolutely nothing had happened. He told me that if I said anything to anyone, especially Tyler, he'd make sure Tyler found out I was cheating on him. He'd destroy my marriage and make everyone believe I was the one who seduced him. He said, who would believe a young wife over a respected community member with decades of reputation? He had all the power, and we both knew it. I felt trapped and completely alone. I couldn't tell Tyler while he was deployed and dealing with dangerous missions. Couldn't tell Carol without destroying her family and marriage. Couldn't leave without explaining why to everyone. So I stayed quiet and tried to avoid David as much as possible, but living in the same house made it nearly impossible. But then, 3 weeks ago, I missed my period. I took 7 pregnancy tests over 2 days, hoping desperately that each one would be negative. They all showed 2 bright pink lines. I was pregnant, and I knew exactly whose baby it was. Tyler and I had always been extremely careful because we wanted to wait until after his deployment to start our family. But that horrible night with David, there was no protection involved. I've been walking around like a complete zombie ever since, trying to figure out what to do. Tell Tyler? He'd probably kill his own father and end up in military prison. Get an abortion? I've always been pro-choice, but making that decision for myself felt absolutely impossible. Keep the baby and pretend it's Tyler's? The timing would be close enough that it could work, but living with that massive lie forever seemed unbearable. Meanwhile, David has been acting extra friendly, like we're best buddies now. He doesn't know about the pregnancy, and I've been avoiding him like the plague. Carol keeps asking if I'm feeling okay because I've been so quiet and distant lately. Last week, things got even more complicated when Madison came home from college for spring break. She immediately noticed something was seriously off with me. She's always been incredibly perceptive, and we'd gotten really close over the months I'd been living there. One night, she cornered me in the kitchen and said she knew something was terribly wrong and wouldn't leave me alone until I told her what was happening. I completely broke down and told her everything through tears. Madison was absolutely horrified, but not entirely surprised, which shocked me. She told me that when she was 16, David had made inappropriate comments to her friends during sleepovers. She'd always felt uncomfortable around him, but never had concrete proof of anything serious enough to report. Madison wanted to go to the police immediately, but I panicked completely. What if they didn't believe us? What if it destroyed the family and Tyler blamed me for everything? What if David followed through on his threats? I made her promise not to say anything until I figured out what to do next. But Madison, bless her heart, had a completely different plan. She started secretly recording conversations with David, trying to get him to admit what he'd done to me. She's been playing detective for days, and yesterday she showed me something that changed absolutely everything. She had recorded David talking to his drinking buddy from the construction site where he was building new condos. He was bragging about his conquest and making absolutely disgusting comments about me. He said things about how easy it was to manipulate me and how he'd been planning it for months. But then he said something that made my blood run cold. He told his friend that Tyler wasn't even his real son. I made Madison replay the recording 3 times because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. David was laughing and said that Carol had an affair 25 years ago, got pregnant, and convinced him the baby was his. He said he'd known for years but never said anything because it gave him leverage over Carol. He said Tyler looked nothing like him and had completely different interests and personality. My entire world collapsed in that moment. Not only had David assaulted me, but Tyler wasn't even biologically his son. This meant Carol had been living a lie for 25 years, and Tyler had no idea his entire identity was built on deception. But wait, it gets even worse. Madison kept digging and found old letters hidden in David's home office. Letters from a private investigator he'd hired years ago to track down Tyler's real father. Turns out, Tyler's biological father is a man named James Morrison, who lives in Seattle and has no idea he has a son. The investigator's report said James was married with 2 other children and had a successful law practice. Now I have recordings, documents, and proof of multiple lies spanning decades, but I still don't know what to do with any of it. Tyler comes home in 6 weeks. I'm about 10 weeks pregnant now, so I'm running out of time to make critical decisions. Do I use the recording to expose David? Do I tell Tyler everything about the assault, the pregnancy, and his true parentage? Do I try to handle this quietly within the family? The worst part is Carol. She's been nothing but kind and loving to Me, and finding out about this would absolutely devastate her. She'd lose her husband, probably her home, and have to face the fact that the man she's been married to for 25 years is a predator who's been blackmailing her with her own secret. How do you drop that kind of bomb on someone who's been like a mother to you? But then I think about other potential victims. What if David has done this before? What if he does it again? What if staying quiet makes me complicit in future assaults? And what about Tyler's right to know who his real father is? I've been seeing a therapist secretly, paying cash so it doesn't go through insurance that the family might see. She's helping me work through the trauma and figure out my options, but ultimately, every single decision is mine to make. 3 days ago, I made a choice that might change everything forever. I called Tyler. I didn't tell him about the pregnancy, the assault, or his parentage yet, but I told him I needed him to call me alone when he had complete privacy and time for a very serious conversation. He could hear in my voice that something was terribly wrong. We scheduled a video call for tomorrow night. But before I could tell Tyler everything, Madison discovered something else that completely changed our strategy. She found out that David has been embezzling money from his real estate company for years. He's been stealing from his business partners and clients, creating fake invoices and pocketing the difference. Madison showed me bank statements and financial documents that prove he's stolen over $200,000. This gives us leverage we didn't have before. Now we have evidence of assault, fraud, embezzlement, and decades of lies. David isn't just a predator, he's a criminal who's been destroying lives for years. Madison and I developed a plan. Tomorrow night, when I tell Tyler everything, we're going to give him all the evidence and let him decide how to handle his father. But we're also going to the police regardless of what Tyler wants, because David needs to face consequences for what he's done. I'm terrified about telling Tyler everything. About his father assaulting me, about the pregnancy, about his real parentage, about the embezzlement. I know it's going to destroy him and everything he believes about his family. But he deserves to know the truth, and I can't carry these secrets anymore. I don't know what's going to happen next. Will Tyler demand to come home early? Will he want to confront David immediately? Will our marriage survive this massive betrayal and trauma? Will we keep the baby or not? Will David face criminal charges for what he's done? Will Tyler want to meet his real father? Will Carol be able to handle learning that her entire marriage was built on lies and blackmail? All I know is that I'm completely done being a victim. I'm done protecting a predator and criminal. I'm done carrying this family's darkest secrets alone while they eat me alive from the inside. Whatever happens tomorrow night and beyond, my life is about to change forever. Again. And honestly, I'm ready for it. Because living in this nightmare, carrying this weight and these lies, has been slowly killing me. At least now, whatever comes next, it'll be the truth. The whole horrible, complicated, devastating truth. I just hope Tyler and I can somehow get through this together. I hope our love is strong enough to survive what his father did to us and all the lies we've discovered. I hope we can build something real and honest from the complete wreckage of these terrible secrets. But I guess I'll find out soon enough. The call is tomorrow night, and I'm going to tell him absolutely everything. If this story resonated with you, or if you've faced similar situations, please know that you're not alone and it's never your fault. I'll be sharing an update soon about what happened after I told Tyler everything, because trust me, his reaction was nothing like I expected. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss it, because you're going to want to hear how this insane story ends. Thanks for listening to my story, and remember, the truth always finds a way to come out eventually.